My name is Sherry Hensley, and I'm going to share my story with you today, titled Conceived in Rape, But I Am Loved. Ephesians 1:4-6 says, According as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved. I was born April 16, 1973, and I grew up in a very strong Christian home. And as I was old enough to remember, my parents read to me in the form of a story about The Family That Grew by Florence Rondell. It was a story about being adopted. I always knew I was adopted. It was never kept a secret from me. I was also taught to love the Lord, and at the tender young age of 7, I asked Jesus to come into my heart. I always felt that it was special to be adopted twice, by God and by my parents. As I grew older, like most adoptees, I began to think about, well, who do I look like? Where do I get some of my characteristics from? And I also felt that there was a piece of my life that I wanted to know. And I also wanted to thank my birth mother for choosing life. In January 2008, I told my mom and dad that I was going to get the non-ID information regarding my closed adoption. The day finally came when the packet arrived in the mail. I was nervous and excited all at the same time. I waited until my husband got home from work to open it. That evening, we read it together. I was amazed as to what I was reading. As I read about my birth mother having taught children with cerebral palsy, I felt so proud of her. The packet did not give very much information about my birth father, other than in one of the pages in big letters it said alleged father. And that is when I got the feeling that something bad had happened. After my husband and I finished reading the information, he told me he wanted for us to get to know my birth mother more, inspiring me to search for her. I called my parents and I told them that I was going to continue to search for my birth mother. I wrote my birth mother an outreach statement without any names and emailed it to my caseworker. Several days went by and the days felt more like years. But I continued to pray and ask God that he would work the situation out, because I wanted to know who she was, so I could thank her for choosing life. The day finally came when I received a phone call from my caseworker. She said she had talked with my birth mother and that she wanted to have contact with me. The caseworker told me that before she could give me the information, my birth mother wanted me to know the truth. The truth is my birth mother was raped. The day that I heard that I was conceived from rape, I chose not to become angry or bitter about my beginnings, but I chose to love my birth father. Why did I choose to love my birth father, who was a rapist? Because Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins as well as the sins of my birth father. I chose to love him through the love of Jesus Christ. And that day, God gave me a heart filled with so much love and compassion for my birth mother, for what she had endured. It was several weeks later, that after my birth mother was raped, that she discovered that she was pregnant. When she told her mother that she was pregnant, her mother was not thrilled with the turn of events and gave my birth mother 3 weeks to get out of the house. Her father had already passed away, and so no one else was there to protect and defend her. She then went to live at a home for unwanted mothers, and it was there that my birth mother started her healing process. The question went through her mind, what am I to do with this baby? My birth mother had to make a decision. She had no job, no permanent place to live, was not married, and no support from family. My birth father, of course, was out of the picture. She didn't even know my birth father's name. Her aunt, though, had an idea. She could arrange for her to have an illegal abortion with a doctor from Michigan. This was before Roe v. Wade. That would come to the state that my birth mother lived in and perform the abortion at a Planned Parenthood clinic. However, my birth mother knew that there was life growing inside of her womb, life given by God and a gift from God. My birth mother has said that her favorite verse is Jeremiah 29:11. It says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, and plans to give you a hope and a future. She did not want to disrupt the plans that God had for the tiny little life that was growing inside of her. When she decided to place me for adoption, her one request to the social worker was that her baby be placed in a strong Christian home. I am also truly grateful for the way that my birth mother loved me. What she did was an act of pure love, and I'm so thankful that I was able to be a gift to my mom and dad. When I was born, my birth mother had some complications. We both remained in the hospital for a week before she went home, and I was released to my foster parents' house. God blessed my birth mother with 1 week to love, care for, and hold her baby girl, who she named Rebecca Ann. My birth mother and I were released from the hospital on the same day, and she said she then placed me back into the hands of God. When I got in contact with my birth mother, she told me, "I have always loved you, and you were the beginning of my healing process." She also said that what a lot of people don't realize is that the baby who is conceived out of rape becomes a strong healing force in this situation. Why? Because out of something so horrific and traumatic comes a precious human being, and the giver of life brings healing to the one who suffered. Yes, my biological great aunt wanted me to be aborted, but my birth mother chose life, and I was protected by law from an illegal abortion. God was faithful to my birth mother's prayer. I was raised in a wonderful Christian home where faith was taught and it was real. My husband was reading a book by T.D. Jakes titled Reposition Yourselves, Living a Life Without Limits. One of the things that this book mentions is that we often meet someone who reveals a new piece of the puzzle of who we are. That is so true. The year before I met my birth mother, my husband met a half-sister he never knew about for the first time, and a cousin for the first time. I think if my story would have been different, I went to meet my wonderful husband, and I went to meet all the wonderful people that have been a part of my life down through the years. I am grateful to God for the family He gave me, a loving husband who I love and adore so much, and the tight-knit church family that He gave me. I wouldn't want my life any other way. I was conceived in rape, but I am loved.